Real quick before the video starts, friends, please like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and take the time to, like I say, share and like and subscribe and follow me on the different platforms. It really helps out. Let's get going with the video. Hey, let's get started on this first video in a series of maybe 2 or 3 15-minute videos. I don't think anybody wants to see one long, hour and a half video. So we're going to break it up into sections. And in this first section, we're going to be cutting the pieces of foam to get the basic shapes that we need for the coffin. It's not going to be a terribly exciting video, but hey, unless you're into measurements and cutting foam and, then it's going to be exciting for you, but it's not really that fun, this part of it. But so what I do is I take these 2 foot by 2 foot pieces of pink foam that I buy at Home Depot, and I'm going to cut them down to a more manageable size. That's the kind of foam that I buy. A more manageable size into 1 foot by 1 foot square sections. I'll get 4 out of the entire sheet. And notice I take the blade and I drag it through lightly a few times, getting deeper and deeper gradually as I make more passes. And that gives me a clean edge when I cut it. And here we just have a 1 foot by 1 foot piece. And I like it. We're going to get a measurement of Jason. This is a pretty big figure, a Neca figure. Usually the Neca figures, they're 7 inches, 7.5. It depends. But Jason, this guy, he's 8 inches, man. This guy is large. And so we measure from the head down to the back of the foot, and we're getting 8 inches. And I want to give myself room to mess up because I am not an expert measurer or coffin builder. I just know that I want to go a little bit bigger than the size he is because I'm going to put a liner inside the coffin, and there's going to be the width of the walls and stuff that I have to take into account that reduce the space where so I need to make sure that I make it about a 1/2 inch bigger than he is. So we're going to do 3.5, 8.5 by 3.5. And I measured from the back of his elbows because those were like the widest part of him. And so I wanted to make sure that, I got plenty of room there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1 foot by 1 foot piece of foam, and I'm going to mark off a section that's going to be 8.5 by 3.5. Big long rectangle. And that's really all I want for now out of this piece of foam that I cut from the big 2 by 2 foot panel. I just want this 8.5 by 3.5 inch wide rectangle. So I'm going to get out the proxxon cutter, and I really love this tool. It's a great tool, but it does, I wish the fence on it was higher, and I do need to quit being so lazy and make myself a nice tall fence for it, a jig for it to create a nice wall on the fence that will allow me to, when I flip the piece vertical, which you'll see here in a little bit, I'll flip it on its side. It will prevent me from getting a little wobble in it when I go to slice off pieces of foam. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute, but it's a great tool. I like this tool. So this is what I'm talking about. When I flip the foam up on its side, we're going to tape down the fence to give a little more stability, but you could see it's not very high. And so when I flip the foam up on its side, there's wobble in it. I do get a nice cut right here, but then later I get a couple of wavy ones, but who cares? Right? Nobody's going to see it. No, I care, and I do see it. And I want it a little bit more stable, and so I'm going to make a jig for this thing and quit being so lazy. But I put Jason in there, and yeah, he fits, man. 8.5 by 3.5, we're golden. Okay, that's the basic size that I want, and I don't want to make a coffin that is just a big rectangle because that's just really easy. And I really like the ones that kind of go out like a short, a narrow top, and they spread out toward the elbows and then come back down to a tapered end. I like that kind of coffin better than the big just wooden box. And so, that's what we're after right here. And I'm going to show you how I do it. And like I say, there's probably a better way to do it, and somebody who knows how to measure better and how to create, all kinds of, even shapes and lines, and who is an architect, but that's not me at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape this piece of paper down, and you're going to see I'm just going to get a rough outline of what I want this thing to look like. I'm going to start at his feet, and I'm going to make a basic shape of one side of the coffin all the way up to his head. See, like that? And ultimately, I'm just going to flip the paper, fold it in half, and see that? This is how I cheat. I fold it in half, an old trick I learned in art school, or art when I was in school, not art school. But anyway, I flip it in half, and then I'll retrace over those same lines a little more heavy-handed, and it will create an imprint on the other side of the paper. And so it will give me the full coffin when I open it back up, and then I'll just trace all the lines. And that's kind of how I approach that, because I'm not, like I say, I'm not really that good of a measurer, and for drawing lines and stuff like that, and finding even making it all even, and so that's how I do it, and it's pretty easy. I'm sure, like I say, there's a better way that you can do this, but you'll see this works pretty dang good. The coffin looks great, and he fits in it, and the lid closes. At the end of the day, that's what matters, right? So however you want to approach measuring it and shaping the coffin, have at it, but this is the way I did this one. See, now I'll open it up, and I'll hold it up to the light, and I can see a faint line of the whole coffin. You can see it right there on the right side of the page. And just, getting my big head out of the way and letting the light shine down on the paper, I can see the entire coffin, and I just retrace it out there, and then I'll make sure his elbows are inside the white spot, and then I'll put the head up there where I want it somewhere, make that horizontal line going across, and we've got a coffin outline. Easy enough. Works for me, right? And you may have a better approach to making the shape of coffin that you want. Like I said, I didn't want to go with a big, long, square rectangle box. There was nothing really aesthetically pleasing about that. So I'll get out these slices of foam that I created, and I'll put the pattern of the coffin on top. And since this foam picks up patterns and marks and pressure really well, I'm just going to tape it down, and I'm going to trace over the coffin lines so that the pink foam picks up the outline of the coffin, and then I can make my cuts and stuff like that. I just don't want it to move right here, so I use a little bit of this blue masking painter's tape to do this, because it's really low adhesive and won't stick all over my mat. And I'll just retrace over the lines of the coffin, like I say, and the pink foam will pick up the marks from the pin, the indentations, and you'll see the coffin outline on the pink foam itself. And I can link the tape in the description of the video too, if you want. And some of the stuff that I use. You see, when I pull the tape off of there, it just doesn't tear the foam up, so it's really nice. And you can see the pattern of the coffin right there. And I'll just begin to cut away with a nice sharp X-Acto knife. We want a nice sharp crisp lines, and this foam does dull the X-Acto knife down pretty good, so I started with a fresh blade. And that's it. Look at that, man. We're getting a coffin out of pink foam. How cool. With a little bit of and if I can do this, you can do this, by all means. Look at that. Jason fits right in there. Ooh, look. I want to go ahead and take a moment to show you, a few still images of what this pink foam turns into, just, so you can see what these tops and bottoms look like here that I'm cutting out, because it is a pretty boring video of just cutting and measuring right here. So let's show you what, I turn these pieces into, and we'll bring some still images up on the screen right now. Whew, no more pink foam. It gets kind of boring, right? All the cutting and measuring, and it's not very exciting yet. But I want to freshen it up with some images of what we're working toward. Look at the nice, clean, even lines. It might look like a mess right now and boring and uninteresting, but, with a little vision, this is what it will be. So, I appreciate you folks following along this far. And in the last video that I created in this season, in this series, I will post some really cool final images with Jason in there. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And as you can see, this coffin is deep. It'll accommodate, like I showed in the very beginning of the video, even the Candyman NECA figure. It'll accommodate almost all the NECA figures I can think of, with the exception of, Alien or Predator maybe. But any of your horror figures, they're going to fit right in here, Here we're just making sure the depth is right, because Jason is a thick figure. There's a lot of substance to him, and so I went with 2.5 inch, 3 inch, whatever I wrote there on the paper. I can't remember. I think it's 2.5 inch deep. And actually, I create. If you go back and scroll through, look through the pictures, you'll see a lip inside the coffin. That the lid, when you put it down, it rests on the lip, so you can't push it all the way down onto Jason. So I did create an inset lip in there for the lid, like I say, to push down against and seal the coffin, so it gets a nice tight seal. And that's, really a nice touch, too. I'm not sure if I showed that part in the video or not. But anyway, like I say, this part is really kind of dry, but it's really important to get all the measurements and stuff right. The thing about foam is it is really forgiving. You can, bend it and twist it and cut it. And, it's really forgiving. If you cut it wrong, you can cut it again. It's a really forgiving medium to work with. But as we come to the end of this video, friends, please remember to like and subscribe. My next video in this series will be on texturing and assembling the pieces with glue and pins and things like that. So stay tuned for that, and like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.